Our official attorney, Lisa Lanier, joining us in studio today, answering your questions for a lawyer. Now is your opportunity. We've had some great phone calls, and now we're taking more of your phone calls.
Let's go to, is it Charlene?
Yes, Charlene.
Charlene, go ahead with your question.
Yes. So I've been separated from my husband for more than 4 years now, but I haven't been able to locate him to do a divorce paperwork. So what do I need to do from here?
So there are a couple different options. I mean, you could, if you file for divorce, you could employ a private process server to try to hunt him down. And they're basically like private investigators that go and they find people who are trying to dodge service. Is he trying to dodge it, or is he's just gone, like randomly gone?
I've tried to locate him from friends, people that used to work with him. They won't give me any information, or they have no idea even where he is.
Gotcha. So
He's not on social media or anything?
Anything?
Yeah, it's usually
no. I mean,
usually
he's blocked me on everything. So
Wow.
This is how I know I could never, ever be a lawyer. Lisa, the way that you just handled that, call comes in and says, I cannot locate him. You immediately go into how you would advise. I'm thinking, well, where the hell is he?
Yeah, like,
Where's the last time I saw him?
Right.
He doesn't pay for things? What happened? Why'd y'all separate? That's why I'm so nosy.
Right.
I want to know all of the
you
stuff.
can find anybody, though. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
If you, and I mean, maybe not you, if you employed an attorney to help you find him, it would be worth it probably, because, I mean, I have yet to find somebody that I could not track down and find. I had a client who is a minor who was involved in an automobile accident, and the mom moved to New York and didn't tell anybody, didn't tell us, and I don't know if she moved all of a sudden. We tracked her down through her business because she's a hairdresser, and she was sort of flying under the radar in New York, but we knew that she was a hairdresser, and so we were able to track her license there and track. I mean,
Wow.
you can track people even if they don't want to be found.
And this is all private investigators that do this?
We just did that in house. I mean, we didn't even have to have it. I mean, you can find people. I'm telling you, if you could go hire an attorney, find this guy, and it'll make your life a lot easier.
You'd be really good at that, Jared.
I'm good at finding people.
You are. Anytime we mention a name, and I'm like, well, I don't think they're on social media. You somehow or another.
I'm like, oh, they work here and they've been there for 10 years. And
Right. And this is their last known address, and
Yeah.
this is how much their house is
Lisa,
worth.
if I ever something happens here with me, I can kind of help you guys find people.
Yeah,
Although it sounds like you have no problem finding people.
In-house, they do it.
Jason Goodman has a question. Also, you have a question for our official attorney, Lisa Lanier. Call us 800-682-1075.
I do have a question. This involves a kind of a serious case, but I'm just curious because I can see this happening a lot to families and houses. Recently, there was an accident in the area, and there was alcohol involved, and kids were involved with it. And it was a serious accident. There was death involved. But I noticed one of the charges of the a parent was charged because a kid was over at their house drinking. And I believe it might, I don't know the details, but I was just thinking of the scenario where, let's say I'm having a cookout at my house, right? Mm-hmm. And Ruthie, or her boyfriend, has a friend over. He's not 21. I don't know he's not 21, but there's beers around and everybody's drinking, and I don't even know this friend arrived at the house. And maybe I see them and they're in the distance and they're playing cornhole there, but I'm cooking burgers on the grill.
And you're hosting a cookout.
I'm hosting a cookout. That friend goes into the cooler and grabs a beer. I have no idea his age. I'm not carding him and didn't even know he was coming over, but he's at the house. And I'm like, hey, how are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Don't even say anything. He's drinking. Then all of a sudden on the way home, he gets in an accident and hurt somebody or himself. Can I be charged? It looked like the girl was charged for hosting a party with minors, basically. A minor at the house.
Right.
Where does that come into play? Am I responsible for that?
Yeah, you are technically responsible, but most of the time you won't see charges filed unless the parents served the minors. So, like, if you have a situation where you're having a gathering and the minors sneak and get alcohol and you have no idea about it.
Well, I'm not saying sneak.
Yeah.
I'm saying I see him, but I don't know his age. He's drinking.
Well, you have an obligation if if your kid is underage to assume, and check who's this person that's with my kid. So there is a duty there, to make sure that minors are not knowingly, if you know that it's likely that this is a minor and you let them drink. But the key is, do you know? And so the sneaking situation, you'll almost never see any kind of charges. Although technically you're supposed to have your alcohol locked up if you have kids that you think are going to, if you have, like I have a friend that was going through an adoption process, and that was one of the things the social worker did a home study, and they had alcohol out.
Wow.
And there were these, like getting ready to adopt like 8, 9, 10-year-old kids. And they're like, well, you need to put a lock on that liquor cabinet. You need to put that
Yeah.
put
Oh,
that
I
away.
didn't know that.
I didn't know
So
that
you
either.
have, you
Because
have
you have
obligations if you have teenagers, to know that they're likely if you've got alcohol out. But you're not going to see that level of charge typically unless you have knowingly served these kids.
And what's crazy that why I say that is because it becomes very confusing when somebody's 20, 21, 22. The age groups, a lot of 19-year-olds will hang out with a 21-year-old and vice versa, and that's where it gets confusing because I'm assuming, he must be over 21 because he's drinking at that. And I don't. And I look back on my cookouts, I'm like, well, there was that one kid there, and he was drinking a beer, and I'm not really sure if he's 21 or not.
Yeah.
I'm hoping he is, but I didn't go up and, excuse me, sir, and let me have your ID. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Now, what about
It's
this,
tricky.
Lisa? If you're at a cookout and the person has gummies that are filled with alcohol at a level where kids can easily take it off the table.
Oh, yeah.
That almost happened to me. I won't say whose cookout, Jason Goodman.
Yeah.
And they look like gummies. And my daughter at the time,
Alcohol
Ava,
gummies, not
alcohol
yeah, not
gummies,
weed gummies.
but they
Weed gummies,
were
no.
just gummy bears.
Yeah.
I almost took some. And
I wish you
luckily, your
did.
wife, Carol, was there. And my daughter, Ava, went, she said, no, those have alcohol in them. But
Yeah.
if she had taken that, I could have sued him, right?
Well, I mean, you could have potentially, but there would have to be some real harm probably.
And
to
by the
really
way,
recover
it's against
anything.
our
the
religion.
irresponsibleness was not
That's
me.
true. Yeah, the religious aspect. of
Carol
it.
made the gummies.
Okay, well, I'd sue Carol. Just joining us, we have official attorney Lisa Lanier in studio with us, answering any legal question you have. I have a legal question. I think we all do on the show, the same question. We have a question about vaccines and if you could be fired for not being vaccinated. That's next with Jared and Katie in the morning.